got Nick with us today. Of course, I'm Tristan. And we've got Michael Hellickson. If you don't know Michael Hellickson, I don't know where you've been because he's all over our group and all over the Club Wealth group. For those of you who don't know him, Michael used to be a real estate agent. And at the time, he was the number one agent in all over the United States. Right, Michael?
We had the number one team in the country at one point. Yeah,
which is pretty sick because you were listing over 100 properties a month and had like pending, sold, and escrow type thing over 750 in a year. That's pretty sick.
So on the listing side, in transparency, I was only listing 50 to 75 houses a month. But
only?
We were closing. We were doing over 100 transactions a month. But yeah, we had 750 listings at one point. It was pretty.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And then you decided to become a coach. When was your first year? How old is Club Wealth?
Well, Club Wealth it really was born in 2001, but it was kind of reborn again in 2015 as my sole focus. So I used to coach before as an agent who also coached, and now I'm just a coach. I'm 100% focused on just coaching.
That's what we love about you, dude. You just focus on this, and you've done such a great job with Club Wealth, and it's grown so rapidly that a lot of people know about it now, which is really cool to see. Really cool to see, man. So today we're going to talk about your specialty. You have a lot of specialties, but this is good because I've heard a lot of agents that have coached with you say, look, Michael and Club Wealth got me from this newer agent, or this level all the way up to here. And it's like leaps and bounds at times. So, I mean, dude, start us off. You know what successful agents are doing. Tell us what you see.
It's been good. There's a lot of agents. I mean, ideally, you want to go from, we break it up into tiers, right? So tier 1 would be 0 to 150 in GCI, 0 to 25 units. Tier 2 would be 25 to 75 units and 150 to 500 in GCI. Tier 3 would be 500 in GCI to $1 million in GCI and 75 to 150 units. Tier 4 is 150 to 250 units, and Tier 5 is 250 units and up. So essentially, the goal is if I start off in Tier 1, I want to get into Tier 2 as quickly as possible. And ideally, I should be able to get there in a year. If I'm in Tier, so whatever tier I'm in, I should be able to move to that next tier in about a year. Now, occasionally we have people like, the Cherie Benjamins and the Misty Brutons of the world who will occasionally go from like a tier 1 to a tier 3 or even a tier 4 in a year to 2 years. So
that's pretty fast. Well, you're exposed to so many different levels of agents, and you found that you've narrowed it down to these 3 key things that can make you into a superstar agent, right? Into making these 7 figures. So tell us what number 1 is, dude.
So, I was thought really hard about this ahead of this webinar. I really kind of designed the material today specifically for lab coats. And I was thinking about, what are those 3 things? Like if I had to identify not just what is it that gets an agent to $1 million in revenue, but what is it that gets an agent to $1 million in net income? And what are the 3 things? And I wanted to get it down to the fewest things possible. So what are the 3 things they absolutely have to do, the keys to getting there? Not just the mechanics, but the overall keys to making that happen. And number 1 is learning, right? And it's funny, there's this quote, and everybody attributes it to Abraham Lincoln. The reality is it wasn't Abraham Lincoln that said it, but it's a great quote anyway. The quote says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe, right? That was actually a lumberjack back in the day, and he was talking about minutes, not hours. But the point is still there. The point is still valid that, you really got to spend most of the time sharpening your axe, right? You've got to sharpen those skills. You got to hone those skills. If you don't hone your skills, you're in trouble. It's like knowledge without implementation, they say, is like rowing with one oar in the water. Well, so too then, right? I mean, it makes sense, right?
Dude, you have the best sayings. I don't know how you remember all these quotes, but every time I talk to you, you have the best ones.
But it's, you think about you come about these things all the time too. You got great quotes. What are you talking about? But
you have the best ones though.
But you think about this, right? Like I can know everything in the world, and if I don't implement, it's like rowing with one oar in the water. And all I do is go in circles, right? And the opposite is also true. If I implement like crazy and I have no knowledge behind it, I'm spinning my wheels. I mean, it's counterproductive. And so I got to learn at a deep level. And so one of the things we talk a lot about, and I started really thinking about, okay, well, who do I learn from, right? Because I really believe that who you learn from is, and then, by the way, this is not a plug for coaching. This is about, when I got in the business, I was 18 years old. I was in high school, and I said, okay, I want to make $100,000 a year. That was my first goal. So I said, okay, I'm not going to take advice from anybody that makes less than $100,000 a year selling real estate. Not $100,000 in something else, but it's $100,000 selling real estate. Mm-hmm. And that paid, that worked well for me. Then when I got to that level, I said, okay, now I want to make 250. So I'm not going to take advice from anybody that makes less than 250 and so forth. We always say, you'll like this quote. If you like my quotes, here's one of my favorites.
Go ahead.
If you want to climb Mount Everest, you need a guide that's been to the top of Mount Everest before.
That's true.
So, and it cracks me up. There's so many people out there. There's lots of great information out there. The problem is not information, right? The problem is knowing which information to trust. And there's so many people in the real estate industry that are throwing out advice that have never even freaking sold a house. And they're relying on everybody else's experience to help them share with somebody else what they should do. And while that's possible and it's better than nothing at all, it's not the same as going to a Tristan Ahumada who's making millions a year and crushing it and saying, hey, Tristan, how did you do that? And getting that direct advice from someone who has done things at a higher level.
That makes total sense.
Hey, can I interject there for a second? Sorry, I was busy making sure this webinar was posted in all of our groups. I love what you said about it's super important for, there's a lot of speakers and coaches out there that have never sold a house. And that's exactly what you just said. And those speakers and those coaches, listen, they're good at what they do, but Tristan and I firmly believe that unless you've sold a house, what you're telling agents to do cannot be driven home enough compared to someone who actually has been there. And so that's why I think, you just said you had 750 listings active and pending at one point. I mean, that's one of the highest levels you can get at as an agent. And so you're teaching other agents how to do that. And with Tristan and I, with Lab Coats, there's been plenty of times when we're like, oh, let's just quit our teams and just do Lab Coats full time, right? But I feel our credibility wouldn't be as solid if we do that. And so that's why we're always going to be in the game. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. I mean, it's tough because there's so much, like you said, there's so much information out there and you don't know where the source is, right? Sometimes you don't know, is this person somebody who's actually sold homes before? You guys, for example, you're testing things every single day, right? You're one of the things you guys are really, really good at is your text messaging and the what's working on text and with Facebook marketing today. As an example, forever people didn't use emojis in their ads. All of a sudden, you guys start using emojis in your ads, and you find out, oh my gosh, it actually works. It makes a big difference. You wouldn't know that if you weren't actually doing it.
True.
So,
right.
It's super important. So that being said, you can definitely shortcut the learning curve by making sure the who you're getting advice from is the right who. It's funny. I was on a plane just the other day. I was sitting next to a guy named Jack Luther. You guys ever heard Jack Luther?
No.
Well, let me tell you, this is reason number 3,000 why I like to ride in first class. Let me tell you. So I'm sitting next to this guy, and I look at him, and I'm like, dude, this guy's somebody. I don't know who he is, but he's somebody. I got to learn from this guy. I have no idea why. I got to learn from this guy. And I said, I introduced myself, and I said, so what do you do? And he says, oh, I'm kind of retired. I said, I'm kind of retired. Okay, well, what did you used to do? Oh, I used to run a couple of companies. I said, really? Well, tell me about these companies you used to run. What companies did you run? He says, oh, well, I was the CEO for Popeyes and for Dunkin' Donuts.
Can I just say, I never sit next to those people on planes. Only Michael does.
I'm like, freaking Popeyes and Dunkin' Donuts. Are you freaking kidding me? These are massive global corporations, wow. Right? And so I'm sitting next to this guy, and we have this amazing conversation, right? And he tells me all about how he took Dunkin' Donuts from 4,000 stores to 9,000 stores. And I'm like, that's insane, right? you think about the amount of work involved. But here's what really cracked me up, or not cracked me up, but here's what really hit home for me. So I asked him, I said, what was the key? What was your key to really, because he turned Dunkin' Donuts around. They were failing. When he got to them, they were going under. They were struggling. He turned that thing around and has made an amazing corporation today. And the number one secret he said that he employed was well, there were several, but one of the big ones was he implemented a coaching program inside Dunkin' Donuts. And so what he did was he took the really successful franchisees and he had them start mentoring the ones that were not as successful. And he essentially, the ones that weren't as successful, some of them pushed back and said, I don't want to be coached. And he says, you've got a choice. You can be coached by one of our uber successful franchisees, or you can take yourself out of our system because we'll be taking your franchise back. And he said, it completely changed the face of Dunkin'. I mean, that's
an interesting approach. I like that. That's really good.
But the key there, though, is that all of these guys. What's that, Nick?
I said that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things where, if you think about it on a brokerage level, right? What would these brokerages do if they were given that ultimatum, to just be better? I'm at Keller Williams. That's a franchise. There's lots of franchises, and if they said, hey, listen, we're gonna coach you, we're gonna train you, and if you don't, we're gonna take the sign down. That's pretty legit.
Dude, you could do that with a team. If you find the top agents in the team and say, hey guys, look, you other agents that are kind of struggling from now on, I'm matching you up with these team members and you're going to have to learn from them, but we'll see you later. Right?
Yeah, totally.
So Michael, great point. That was a great point. Number 2, keep learning. Number 3,
that was point number 1. Point number 1 is you got to learn. And so, but you guys, you hit the nail on the head. You can do that with a team, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the whole point is you've got to make sure you're dialing in that customer experience, and you got to learn to run your business like a CEO. So here's number 2. Number 2 is labor. And what I mean by labor is you got to freaking work hard, right? Like, if you want to make $1 million in net income a year working just 12 days a month, you're not going to get there overnight. You got to bust your butt to get there. Once you get there, things are great. But getting there is hard, and it sucks at times, right?
So true, man. I think that's probably the number one biggest misconception, how hard this business is to get to the very top. And then once you do, you can start leveraging and putting things in place. But I think agents nowadays start reverse, where I've seen agents come to me and say, brand new agents, I'm going to start a team. I'm like, okay, go ahead and start a team then.
Knock yourself out. Hey, can I ask you a question? Because I know Club Wealth focuses on teams, right? And it focuses on taking agents like always one level over the next. Why do you think there's so many agents out there that are just so against teams? Because for me, listen, I'll tell you something. Before you answer that, I just feel like I've been by myself and I've been on a team. And I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off when I'm by myself. And when I have a team, it's like everyone's working together. Like I go into my listing appointments and I tell my client, they see all my team members on the listing presentation, all of them. I'm like, when you list your house with us, you get all of these people for the same price. Everyone on this page is accessible to you. If you can't reach me, you can call Stephanie. If you can't reach Stephanie, you can call Lorna. If you can't reach Lorna, you can call Ann. And it's like, where do I sign? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just so logical to me.
So you're actually in part of step 3. So when it comes to, but not surprisingly, you're ahead of your time. I mean, you always are. You're always ahead of the curve. That's awesome. But check it out. But you're right. And we just had this conversation on our coaches call today. So we got all these. We got like 40 some odd coaches now, and we have a call every Tuesday, and we talk about our clients and the things they're going through. And part of the conversation today was, why is it that there's some agents out there that just refuse to grow a team? Even inside Club Wealth, we have clients that don't want to grow a team. And I think to myself, I think about this labor part, right? The working hard. If you don't build a team, you're going to be working hard forever. Like, that's just, unless you're really good at investing in real estate and you use that investing in real estate to get yourself out of the rat race, up until that point, you're going to be working your tail off forever. And to your point, Nick, it gets harder and harder and harder every year to operate as the Lone Ranger or the solo agent. And especially as you start competing against teams, because again, if I'm a listing agent, I'm going up against you on a listing appointment, I'm a solo agent, you've got a team. How do I deal with that? There's ways to compete against a team, but the reality is it's a lot easier to compete as a team than it is to compete against a team. So I would agree. I think that more often, I think that more transactions than not in the next few years, you're going to see a wider percentage of the transactions being done by a narrower percentage of the population of agents, and they're going to be on teams.
So,
I also think that, with consumers being more needy and needing more attention than ever before, having a team is just going to allow you to be more responsive and be more accommodating and lay out that red carpet. When you go to a department store, there isn't one person who operates every department. I mean, you go to shoes, you go to men's clothing, you're not going to wonder if someone's going to be there. And it's kind of this along the same lines. So,
and here's the reality. The reality is people say, the agents that are not on teams oftentimes like to say, oh, teams don't call you and they deliver bad service. But the reality is the opposite is true. Teams generally, the teams that are run properly generally give far better customer service than solo agents, because things are systemized, they're automated, they're dialed in, and the customer gets a consistent experience every single time. So, Tristan, I think you had something you were going to add.
Yeah, I had a question, dude, in regards to you, because you help out a lot of single agents and smaller teams grow. What have you noticed is the number one thing that helps most of these agents or teams grow into a bigger team or into a team?
Oh, well, let's talk about that. So that's goes right to working hard, right? It starts off with, you got to be in the grind, right? You got to put in the time. You got to lead generate, lead follow up, and lead convert. That's 90% of a new agent's day is lead generation, lead follow up, and lead conversion. When they get really, really good at that, then they can start transitioning away from chasing business and into attracting business.
It's Alex Dondusian here, and I'm
It sounds like a feedback there.
I'm not sure where that was. It must be. I think that was Nick. Anyway, Nick's like watching something else. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so check out.
No, sorry. I was looking at questions on the video. See if we have any questions.
No worries. All right. So anyway, so you dial those three things in. Once you get the lead gen, lead follow-up, lead conversion dialed in, and you start really cranking, you get kind of out of balance a little bit, right? So because you're just working like a dog. And by the way, this is very common. So as you guys know, our core value at Club Wealth is no success in the world compensate failure in the home. The challenge is that you don't get balance first. You get out of balance and then you earn balance. Does that make sense?
I think because, yeah, that makes total sense. It's kind of like what I was saying. You work so hard, then you get to that point, you can start leveraging things. I think that's where the balance comes in later, because to get to that point, everything's going to be out of whack. Nothing's going to go according. You're going to be working so much. It feels like this is all you're doing.
I'll be honest. My first couple of years in the business, and I'll say my first year in the business, I worked 100-hour weeks, and not the whole year, but a lot of it. I mean, it was hard. I literally slept under my desk at the office, and this is before I worked from home. I mean, it sucked. It was no fun.
And I think people don't want to hear that, dude. People want to hear, they want to hear like the sexiness, like tell us the magic pill of how you got to 750 transactions in a year, right? But there is no sexy pill.
No, there's not. You have to work hard. And it's funny because as soon as you start talking about hard work, people start saying, oh, but I'm going to work smarter. Well, okay. I get that, but you have to do both, right? It's not enough to work just hard, and it's not enough to work just smart anymore. I mean, think about it. You got guys like Nick and Tristan out there who are hard workers and they're smart, and they're your competition. So guess what? If you don't work hard and smart, they're going to crush you because 24/7, they're game on.
So I was on my mother's team for a long time, and I started my own team about 18 months ago, and so now I feel like I paid my dues, right? Like not like 8.5 years with my mother. I've had my own team for 18 months. I've got buyer agents. I only take the listings. I'm not taking buyers out anymore. And like, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because I paid my freaking dues. I have my weekend back. I can spend more time with my kids. And so it's not that being a buyer agent is like second rate, right? It's just that I feel that there are dues that have to be paid, you know? People see real estate on TV and it's glamorized and they're showing $1 million homes, but what they really need to show is all the BS and fires we have to put out every single day and the uncertainty of whether or not every single deal we have is going to close. And so, you know, I finally, after 8.5 years, have that better counterbalance than I did over almost the last decade. And you got to get to that point. It's not like,
so true.
You know, I love when new agents are like, I don't answer my phone after 7 o'clock. Okay. I mean, I did for 8.5, 9 years.
Dude.
Like I would negotiate home inspections at 11:30 at night. And if, you know, you want to cry about it, there's the door. Like, honestly, you know,
that's like walking into Microsoft and saying, all right, so where do I sit? I'm the new CEO, right? No, dude, you're in the mailroom,
That's
man.
so true.
Like, freaking, seriously, you start in the mailroom, sweep the freaking floors, and we'll talk about, you know, maybe getting to go wash desks or something. I mean, seriously, it's people want to start at the top, and I get that, and I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from having dreams or being excited about their future or having big plans, but here's the deal. You've got to get focused, you got to work hard, and you got to work smart. And here's what I would suggest. Number one, you got to have a perfect daily schedule. This is the thing. If you're in tier 1 or 2, like if I'm a newer agent, or if I'm making less than, let's call it even $250,000 a year, I had dang well get focused on my perfect daily schedule. And we, you know, if you guys don't have that, go to our website, take a look at there. There's a free video on it. Watch it, download the checklist. It's all free.
What's your website? What's your website? Put it here.
It's clubwealth.com.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Get the free thing for free. But here's the thing: you have to literally dial in your perfect daily schedule. If you don't dial that perfect daily schedule in and start following it, then you're going to be all over the freaking place. And that's the problem with real estate agents is we're like schizophrenics, right? We just like I love real estate. I hate it. I love real estate. I hate it. Why? Because I'm onto this, and we got so much ADD. It's like I start off on you know, lead generation, and then all of a sudden my text message goes off and I've got to jump on that because, oh my gosh, this seller isn't going to sign the thing, that's going to fall apart because I got to whatever. Listen, there's nothing in this business that can't wait 4 hours. Nothing. I mean, seriously,
I don't know one real estate transaction where someone wasn't called back immediately and they died. I really don't know of anything that happened.
But that's what agents think is going to happen, right?
Right. Well, you know, I go into listing appointments and I'm very upfront with my sellers. I go, listen, I just want you to know. I tell them when we're going to check in with them, when we're going to follow up, when we're going to give them feedback. They're always free to call us if they have a question, but they need to know that every morning between 8:30 and 11:30, we may not be answering our phones or returning texts or checking email because we're on the phone looking for buyers to buy your house. And they go, oh, that's so cool. I go, so if I don't return your phone call in those 3 hours, please know that that's what I'm doing. And if you're honest about it, they're like, oh, okay, I can get that. I understand that. I get behind that. So just, you know, set the expectation and they'll know why you're not returning their call instantly, you know?
You just hit the nail on the head. People are cool with it if you set the expectation. So I'm sorry, Tristan, you were going to say something.
Very good. No, dude, I just want to know what point number 3 is.
Okay, we're almost there. So so when we get done working smart, as part of working smart, we got to be efficient, right? So I want you guys to start doing things like making like if I'm prospecting, for example, and Nick, you sound like you're pretty hardcore about making sure you're dialing the phone, which is awesome. So when you're dialing the phone, instead of you know, I get off the phone, I pause, and I type my notes into my system, and then I dial the phone again. I literally dial the phone again while I'm typing my notes into the system. That and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it saves me a few seconds each time, and those few seconds start to add up at the end of the day. Same thing with, I carry 4 blue ink pens on each listing appointment, right? That's a pen for me, a pen for Mrs. Seller, a pen for Mr. Seller, and a spare. I found that by doing that, I save 8 minutes on the listing appointment. If I save 8 minutes on 10 listing appointments, that's 80 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes I can spend doing something else in my business or in my personal life. I can spend it with my family if I wanted. Another example is massive open houses. Why in the world would I go hold an open house and sit in a house for 3 or 4 hours to see 3 or 4 or 5 people show up? Why would I do that? Why not instead use my time wisely, drive people to a massive open house and get literally 50 to 150 people out to the open house? Now my time's way more efficient. So we've got to value our time. And
Great point, dude.
All right, then being relentless. One thing I know about you guys and me is the three of us, we're relentless. When we figure out that we're going to do something, we're like a pit bull on the pant leg of opportunity. You figured you probably like that one, Tristan.
You see what I mean?
I knew you'd like that one. But seriously, right? You got to be like a pit bull on the pant leg of opportunity. How many times do you guys follow up with a lead before you say, I'm not going to call that lead anymore?
Never. I never stop following up.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. Most agents, they give up after 1 to 3 times. They just literally give up on a lead. You guys, the fortune really is in the follow-up. I'm saying this to everybody watching. I know you two know that. Okay. Lead conversion, for example. If I want to convert my leads at a higher level, what do I need to do? I need to start resolving more concerns on those appointments. For example, on a listing appointment, how many objections do you have to go through on average to get someone to signing the listing agreement? Any idea?
3?
I would say a minimum of 3. And oftentimes you'll see 7 to 10 objections before you actually get the close. But most agents, they give up after the first or second objection. That's why
You're so right.
Right? Someone says, "Oh, I want you to cut your commission." Oh, man, and it's all of a sudden it's this huge roadblock for them. It's like, look, first of all, it's not even an objection most of the time. It's just a question,
Yeah.
No,
and if you said no, and if most people will just ask you because you don't know the answer unless you ask.
That's right. That's right. So I always treat an objection like a question, and I'll just answer it and move on.
Here's an example. I'm shopping for a new car, but my lease isn't up for 9 months, and I want to get out of it, and it's going to cost me $3,000 to get out of it sooner. So I said to my dealer, who I go to every 2 years, I go, "Leo, can you do something about that $3,000?" He goes, "I'm sorry, I can't." I'm like, "All right, cool. Just have to ask." Like, it's the same thing, right? That's right. They just have to ask.
You're not offended that he said no. You just wanted to make sure you're not leaving money on the table unnecessarily.
Right.
Very true.
Totally true. Totally true. All right. So you guys, what I would suggest for everybody watching, I want you to get in the habit of resolving concerns every single time. You don't quit. Every single time they have a concern, I want you to come back to your closing line. And I'm going to give you guys the best closing line on the planet. And Tristan and Nick, I know you guys have heard this from me before, but humor me here. Look me in the eye. Everybody look me in the eye. I want you to watch this. This is how you handle when you go to your close. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Right? And so now, Nick, to your point, let's say somebody asks you, if you want to cut if you'll cut your commission. So I just literally answer it like this. Nope. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Right? And then they'll ask something else and I'll answer that. And then I'll say, okay, are there any other questions? And I just keep restating my close after each objection. And I'll tell you, sometimes I've had to do it as many as 12 times on one appointment. The very last time, the guy literally says to me, "You're not going to stop saying that until I say no, are you?" And guess what my response was? I said, nope. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork?
That's so funny.
All right, so here you go. The last one is leverage. Leverage. So I've got learn, labor, and leverage. So when we talk about leverage, there's 2 things in particular we're talking about. Number 1 is technology, and I know you guys are huge on technology. So I want everybody to write this down. You need to automate, delegate, and eliminate. Every single thing in your business, you need to look at it and you need to decide, can I automate it? And if I can't automate it, then can I delegate it? And if I can't delegate it, can I eliminate it? And if I can't eliminate it, okay, then it stays. But everything else gets automated, delegated, and eliminated.
Automate, delegate, eliminate. And if you can't do any of those, then you work on it.
I mean, that's essentially, we're doing that with our lead nurturing and our lead response. We're delegating so we don't have to, do that every 5, when you're driving in your car and you get 5 leads coming in from realtor.com, automate it and delegate it so you can eliminate it from you, which is awesome.
That's exactly right. And that's the thing, the key, right? You're remembering, if we're beginning with the end in mind, what are we talking about in the very beginning? I want to net $1 million a year working just 12 days a month. So in order to get there, I have to do these things. I can't be the bottleneck. I can't be the person that has to do everything in the business. If I am, first of all, the business is weak at that point because it's only as strong as its weakest link. And I shouldn't be the strongest link on the team, right?
No.
So, and second of all, I haven't leveraged. Right? I'm not taking advantage of the collective power of a group of intelligent people who are all driving towards a common goal. So I'm going to leverage with technology, and then I'm going to leverage with talent, and that is building a team. Right?
Nice.
That's really important. You've got to build that team. I'll tell you, and I'm going to give you guys a case study. You guys know Brian Curtis, right?
Yeah, I know Brian.
Yeah, one of the smartest guys in real estate. Barna. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. So I met Brian in 2015. It was February of 2015.
Dude, I thought you knew Brian for much longer. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, we only met in 2015. He had been coaching with another coach. I won't mention the coach name, but he'd been coaching with another coach. Didn't feel like he was getting what he wanted out of it. His best year ever at that point in time was $225,000. He hadn't had a year better than 225 GCI. And by the way, when I throw numbers out, I'm always talking gross commission income. I never talk in terms of volume because it always sounds better than it is. So his best GCI was 225, and that was the previous year in 2014. And I asked him, I said, so when's the last time you had a day off? And he says, well, come to think of it, I haven't had one in about 3.5 years. I'm like, you're freaking killing me, bro. Wow. I said, all right, well, I'll make you a deal. If you want me to work with you, if you want me to coach you, you have to promise to take one full phone-free day off each week. And that actually, Tristan loves this part. It's phone and Facebook free day off.
Never got to that.
Can't do it.
So he says, okay, fine, I'll do it. So he starts taking all of his Sundays off, most of his Saturdays, and most of his evenings off.
Wow.
And in the first 7 months we worked together, seriously, the first 7 months, he literally made $675,000 in the first 7 months, and his best year previous was 225.
Why? What can he attribute to that?
Number one was building a team. I'll tell you, bar none. Because now it's not always him. So he hired an assistant. He started hiring agents. Started building his team out, and he built it out properly from the get-go. And that's a big deal because you can screw up a team by building it wrong from the get-go, setting improper expectations that now you got to unwind months or years later, and it creates chaos and your team implodes and you got to rebuild your team again. I mean, don't go down that road, right?
Okay. Yeah, definitely not, man.
What's crazy is the next year he did 980. And the next year he did $1.5 million on over 330 units. That was this last year.
Wow. And
so in 3 years, he went, 2 3/4 years, he went from 225 to $1.5 million in GCI. And he could choose whether or not he got appointments. So, but that doesn't happen if you don't build a team.
Yeah.
So it's so important, you guys, I hope everybody watching here, if the only message you get out today is that you need to build a team, because I want you to have that life, right? I want you guys to be able to spend time with your family, to be able to take time off for yourself or for whatever it is that makes you guys tick. You got to be able to take time to do those things. And if you don't have that balance in your life, you may not have it in the beginning, but if you don't build a team, or either join a team or build a team, right? You don't have to be the team leader, but if you're not on a team or leading a team, you're unlikely to ever achieve real balance in your life as long as you're in this industry.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
I totally agree with that 100%.
So if somebody wants to check out Club Wealth, dude, is there a phone number they can call, or do they just go online?
Just go online. Here's the thing. For everybody watching, if you guys want to do a strategy session with one of our coaches, not a sales guy, we don't do that. That's also very unique to us. If you want to sit down with one of our coaches on the phone, someone who does more business than you do, right? If you do 100 deals a year, you're the coach that does your strategy session, somebody that does 200 deals a year, and so forth.
Yeah.
And so if you guys want to do that, just go to our website, clubwealth.com. It's clubwealth.com, and schedule a strategy session. You can go to /strategy session if you want, or you can there's tons of places on the site where you can click on sign up for a strategy session. But yeah, jump on and do a strategy session with a coach. Let them look at your business. Let them take a deep dive on what's working for you, what's not working for you, and give you an idea of, hey, this is what I would do in the next 12 months. And if you want to find out about coaching, you have to ask them, because they're not going to tell you unless you ask, because we don't push people into coaching. So you literally have to say, well, tell me how I sign up, or what's it like coaching with you, or something like that.
Nice.
Otherwise, talk about your business.
I love that, dude. Awesome. Anything you want to add at the end here?
I would just suggest, remember, learn, labor, leverage. You got to do those three things.
Awesome, buddy. I just put those in there. So love it, man. Thanks for being with us. And can't wait to see you again soon. And you have an event coming up in May, right?
When you say I have an event coming up, what you really mean is Club Wealth has an event coming up that you guys are speaking at, which we're super excited about. So can't wait to see you guys there. I'm stoked. And yeah, we do. It's the Listing Agent Boot Camp. It's May 8th, 9th, and 10th in Denver, Colorado. It's a beautiful venue there, and dude, it's going to be insane.
What's the website to that?
Clubwealth.com/LABC. Clubwealth.com/LABC.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I've never been to Denver before.
Yeah, really? That's awesome.
Dude,
you're
going to love it, dude. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'll go mountain climbing.
You go mountain climbing.
It's gorgeous. Denver's beautiful. It's unbelievable.
You know what? The only thing I don't like is going into Denver or going out of Denver with the airplane. It shakes, right?
They have a lot of turbulence in Denver.
Oh, a lot of turbulence?
Yeah, they get a ton of turbulence coming in out of Denver. There's no question. But you know what? It is awesome, though. You know, this event, there's going to be a lot of masterminds. We've actually got breakouts. So you got a team leader track. You've got a listing agent track. You've got a broker owner track. And then you've got an administrative assistant track. So
that's cool. You bring your whole team or your whole brokerage and go to the specific tracks that, meet your criteria.
Could be awesome.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of admin and TC tracks, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. I think the reason is there's no money in it, but
maybe.
Yeah, but that's all right. I mean, it's not the end of the world. The reason we do it, like with our events, for example, we don't do them as a for-profit venture. We do it. It's kind of like when an agent does a client event, right? The idea is bring value to your clients. You have to bring value to your clients on a regular basis, and you need to get face-to-face with your clients on a regular basis. So that's an opportunity to do that. So
great. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, go to clubwealth.com. And if you're going to go to the event, we'll see you there because we're speaking.
I love it.
Again, Michael, appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See you, everybody.